Hello, and welcome to another session in our series, Programming for Android with App Inventor. My name is Stephen Hughes. The series is made possible by a CS4HS grant with funding by Google. This session is called What Does It Say? We're going to be working together to create an app that mirrors a popular children's toy. But our real goals are to continue to get familiar with the App Inventor development environment. I want to revisit the idea of object-based programming and think a little bit more about what it means to be event-driven programming and how that works, just to give you some additional practice with that. So, I'm going to sketch out what this app looks like before I go into App Inventor. So let's see. What I said is I want it to be this toy that allows a child to select an animal, and the app then tells them what the animal says. So maybe what I've got is a picture up here. This is a picture of a cat. I have to say that because you might not know otherwise. Maybe over here I've got another animal. Let's see, what's this one? This is a dog. Over here I've got my pig, and here I've got my fish. Okay, and the idea is that when the animal is touched, down here it's going to tell me the sound. So, for example, if I touch the cat, it will say meow. Right? Now, you'll notice that this app is pretty similar to the one we wrote last time, the Hello App Inventor. The idea is what? I've got, these are actually going to be buttons, right? And each time I push one of these buttons, it's going to update the text property of this label. So I'm just going to go ahead and put these on here, label. And this is a button. Okay. And so, realistically, we pretty much know how to do this already. There's a few things that are different. What's different about this? Well, for one, we've got some pictures here, whereas last time we had just plain text. Maybe there's some things with the layout. There's a few things that are challenging. Let's go ahead and give it a try. What I'd like you to do is start by loading up App Inventor and see how far you can make this by yourself. And then I will show you how to do it, and we can join forces together. Okay, so I've launched my browser, and I've gone to the App Inventor website, ai2.appinventor.mit.edu. You'll notice that I'm already logged in. Depending upon what you've selected previously, you may need to log into your Gmail account again. And what I see down here is a list of the projects that I've got created. The App Inventor app, Hello App Inventor app that I created last time is here. But I want to start a brand new project, so I'm going to go to New Project, and I'm going to give it a name. What does it say? All right. And remember, in the development environment here, I've got my palette, I've got my viewer, my components, and my properties. Those are all aspects of the App Inventor development environment that I'm going to be working with. Okay, so now what did I want to do? I wanted to have, what, 4 buttons and a label. So let's go ahead and drag those onto my screen here. Button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, and a label. Good. So that's a good start. A couple things that are different though, right? Notice that when I put my buttons on here, it put them on top of each other. But in my sketch, I've got them kind of side by side and arranged in a grid. I'd like to be able to describe the layout of my screen a little bit better. And to do that, I'm going to look over here at my palette, and I've got a user interface tray, and I've got all these widgets that I can add onto my screen. But below that, I've also got a few other drawers over here, they're called. And one of the drawers is called the layout drawer. And if I click on that, I can see there are different ways I can think about laying out my screen. By default, it does things vertically, but maybe I want to arrange the buttons horizontally. Or in this case, I want to put them all into a nice table. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to drag it onto the screen. And the table arrangement is an object just like anything else, right? When it's selected over here in my components, it has properties. Namely, in this case, it's got 2 rows and 2 columns, right? If I wanted more than that, I could adjust those numbers, but that's actually exactly what I'd like. I'd like 2 rows and 2 columns. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag my buttons into the table arrangement. And notice that we can see that the buttons are now part of that table arrangement because they're indented over here in the component tray. Let's see, and I want that whole thing, I'd like my label below. Okay? Good. Now, the next thing I'll notice about this interface here is my buttons don't have any text on them. Instead, they have pictures on them. Now, last time we learned how to change the text of these buttons. It was going over here and finding for a given button, what its text property was. Well, if I would like to replace that text and instead put an image there, maybe what I can do is adjust the image property. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on image property, and it's going to tell me a bunch of media associated with my app. And right now I don't have anything, but it's giving me the option to upload a file. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it asks me to choose a file to upload. And I'm going to find in the file that I downloaded the picture of a cat. And I'm going to say, yeah, that's the one I want. And now we see that my button has a picture of a cat, but it also still has the text here. Right? I've got images, cat, JPEG, and text is text for button 1. I really don't want any text on this button, right? So I'm going to take that text property and I'm going to delete it. All right. Let's see. So look, I can do the same thing for button 2, right? I can put a dog in here. So I'm going to click on button 2. And I'm going to take its image and I'm going to upload now my dog. And I'm going to get rid of the text property for that. And now I've got a picture of a cat and a dog. What came next? Cat, dog, oh, pig, right. Okay, so I'll find my picture of a pig. Upload, choose file, there's my pig, stick him in there. Okay. Whoa, what happened? Well, it turns out the pig picture is bigger than the picture of the cat. And so it kind of stretched out that button to fit the pig into it. I wonder if there's a way that I could tell the button to always be the same size regardless of what's inside it. How can we do that? Yeah, sure enough over here there's a property that describes the appearance of the button, right? So let's see if I can find something that's going to help me determine the size of that button. Look through all these. Down here, width and height. And notice that the property is currently set at automatic. That means it's going to kind of take the shape of whatever's inside it. And since I put a big picture in it, the button grew. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the option to say, I want it to be a fixed number of pixels. What's a good number? 150? Let's try that. Yeah, that looks reasonable. And I'm going to adjust the height too. Okay, so I'll set that to 150 by 150. Good. That's about the size of the cat and the dog. But you know what I ought to do probably? I probably ought to go back and change the size of all those buttons so they're all the same size regardless of what things I'm putting in there. So I'm going to click on each button individually, and I'm going to say that I want it to be 150 by 150 pixels. So I'll do that for the dog, the cat, 150, 150, okay, good. And, oh yeah, this last one here too, right? I need to do that one as well. 150 and 150, good. Good. Oh, look at that, I forgot to take the text out of my pig. How do I do that again? I'm going to click on the pig, and I'm going to find its text property. Text for button 3, yeah, that's not what I want. I want nothing. And button 4, I still need my image for that. What was that supposed to be again? Oh, a fish. Okay, so I'll put my fish image in there. I'll upload a file of a fish. And there we go. Oh, I gotta take off the text. And there we go. Okay. The other thing I might want to do is play with my label here, right? To start with, text for label 1, that's not too nice to have in our app. So I'm going to change that to read, what does it say? Question mark. There we go. Oops, what does it say? There we go. Can I play with the properties of this label to make it a little bit more appealing? What kinds of things might I do? Maybe I want to make it bigger. 28. I'll double its size, 28. Maybe I'll change its text color. Make it blue. I like blue. Maybe I can, I don't want it off to the side there. Maybe I want it centered, so I can center it. Huh. What did that do? Didn't seem to center anything, did it? It moved over a little bit. Where was that? Oh, make sure it's selected. Text alignment left. Yeah, it moved it just a little bit, but it's not really centered, is it? What's going on there? Well, it has to do with the width of the element, the width of the component, right? This component, this text element, is only so wide. It only goes to here. And so I can center it within that width, but it doesn't really seem to be centered with respect to the screen. So what I need to do is I'm also going to take this label and I'll make it as wide as the screen is. So instead of it being automatic, the size of the label will grow to the size of the text. I want to say, I want to fill the parent. Make it as wide as the screen is. And there we go. Now, it looks like it's centered. Okay. So now, at this stage, we have our interface laid out nicely. Right? What we need to do next is add some functionality, and we're going to do that using the blocks editor. Okay, so here I am in the blocks editor, and let's think about what it is I wanted to do. I wanted to have the program react when any button is pressed. When the button is pressed, actually, let me go back to the designer mode for a second. When this button is pressed, well, I listen for button 1 to be pressed, and when button 1 is pressed, I want to change the text property. Oops. I want to change the text property of this label to be what? Meow. And when this button is pressed, change the text property to be wolf. Okay, let's do that. So let me go back to my blocks editor. And what am I going to work with? Down here I've got my buttons. When button 1 was pressed, I wanted to do what? I want to take the label and I want to set the label 1 text to be meow. Right? All right. And I'm going to do the same thing, right? When button 2 is pressed, wait, I'm getting confused. Button 2, which one was button 2? Let me go back here and look. Button 2 is the dog, button 3 is the pig, button 4 is the fish. I'm having a hard time remembering that, though, you know? When I start using lots of different components on my screen, App Inventor's nice in that it names them all differently, but I can remember what number corresponds to what button. A better way to do this is to actually rename these components. So this is button 1. I'm going to rename that so I understand what it is. I'm going to rename that cat button. And this one, I'm going to rename dog button. Naming things like this makes your program a little bit clearer. It's not, oops, dog button. No, it's not dog button 2, it's just dog button. Naming things helps you keep the program clearer in your own mind. So this one's the pig button. It's not changing the functionality. It's not doing anything that it wasn't doing before. It's just making it easier for me as the programmer to read. And if you're going to have more than one of a kind of component, I recommend you name them. There we go, fish button. Okay, so now I've got those buttons named, and now I come in here, oh, look at that, it changed it for me already. And what am I going to do? Dog button. When the dog button is clicked, I want to set the name of label 1, the text to wolf. And when the pig button is pushed, you know what else I can do? This is almost the same exact thing each time here, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on this text here, this block, and I'm going to say duplicate it. And I can drag that in there. And then I'm going to change this to oink. In fact, another thing I could do is I could duplicate that whole block. And when I do that, notice what's coming up here is it's giving you this little red button here, little red triangle saying, uh-oh, you've got 2 things named the same thing, and you can't have that. But what I can do is I can drop down in here and I can say the fish button is pushed. I want to set the text to, now this is something you've been waiting for me to figure out what I'm going to say here, right? What does a fish say? I don't know. Glub, glub. Glub, blub. Yeah, that's good. Good enough. It says something like that. All right. So now I've got event handlers for all 4 of my buttons. And each one does more or less the same thing. When each button is pushed, it changes the label, the text of the label, to the appropriate text value. All right. Okay, so now we're ready to test it out and see if it works. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go up here to connect. I'm going to reset my connection to start with, and I'm going to go to AI Companion. And remember, it's going to give me my QR code or my code to work with. Let's see. I'm going to go into my phone here, and I'm going to launch the AI Companion app. Okay, and it wants a code. My code was ENF EHZ. All right, connect with code. And, oh, look, there it is. There's my app on the phone. What does it say? Now it should be, if I push one of these buttons, it changes the text to the right animal sound. Cool.